Hey, what's going on, guys? My name is Richard Moglen and welcome to this week's Market Outlook video. And before we get started with the usual series of events, I just want to say that there will be a link in the description to my fundamental ranking sheet as of the 11th of January. So feel free to check that out. You might find it useful, especially if you're fundamentals first, just like I am. So go ahead, there's tons of information on all these different stocks, and you can kind of find where they're ranked on my sheet, and hopefully that should help you pick out the stocks for your watch list. But anyway, let's get going with the big picture article from IBD. So overall, we had another strong week, the continuation of this uptrend into and through the end of 2019 and into the start of 2020. However, we had the jobs report this past Friday, which was weaker than expected, so that knocked everything down a bit. And we'll look at that in the chart in just a second. But overall, all the major indexes were knocked down a bit this past Friday. However, we currently still have only 2 distribution days on the NASDAQ and 2 on the S&P 500. So still not enough distribution days to be worried at all. And on Friday, we had late selling, mild losses, and overall, the market pulse still is a confirmed uptrend from investors.com. They also talk a bit about some recent IPOs. You've got some good ideas in XB and PGNY. Those both have very good fundamentals as well. They also talk about DDOG a little bit and Dynatrace. And a lot of these stocks are actually discussed in real time on the new service that they're offering called IBD Live. I've actually been trying it out the past few weeks, and I really enjoy all the analysis that they do in real time during the first hour of trading. So if you haven't tried that out, I definitely suggest at least doing the free 2-week trial and see if you like it and see if it's worth the price for you. But anyway, moving on to wishingwealthblog.com, you can see that the current GMI signal is still green and the current score is still a 5 out of 6. So good things from both investors.com and also wishingwealthblog.com despite Friday's kind of lackluster day. But now let's go ahead and actually analyze how the indexes did for ourselves and look at what's going on. So first we've got the QQQ, which is still in this great uptrend. Let's actually go to the Guppy chart. You can see the clear red, white, blue pattern that's still going on despite the past Friday. And going back to the clean chart, you can see that it's actually moving through this trend line here, and it's overshooting it, which could be a negative sign. I've never been a terribly big fan of drawing trend lines, simply because it seems kind of arbitrary to me which 2 points you use to draw the line. And depending on which points you choose, the current closing price could be above or below the trend line. So if you chose 2 different highs than I've chosen here, it could be still within the channel. But that's just something to keep in mind. But overall, the closing price is above the 4-day, which is above the 10-day, 30-day, 50-day. So overall, a clear uptrend from me. And looking at the SPY, you're going to see pretty much the same pattern. You've got that same selling day on this past Friday, although not above average volume on the SPY, which is interesting. And taking a look at the IWM, let's see what the mid caps did. You can see kind of a much weaker day on this past Friday because it gapped down so much and then continued selling. So a weaker day from the mid caps. They're actually kind of consolidating right now instead of actually supporting the moves of the overall indexes. So that is something to keep in mind, that you want the mid caps to be going along with the overall indexes, the QQQ and the SPY, for kind of prime market conditions. Now looking at the FFTY, which is the Innovator IBD 50 ETF. That's the wrong one. FFTY, you can see that growth stocks have been doing very well the past week. And let's actually draw that horizontal line there. You can see it broke through on Thursday and continued on into Friday. So most likely, if you have a lot of growth stocks in your portfolio, you did pretty well this past week. And that's definitely reflected in the top growth stocks that were on my watch list. So good things from the FFTY. It's good to see that the growth stocks are leading the market. That's what you want to see. So now that we've talked about the major indexes and ETFs, let's go ahead and look at how my watch list performed this past week. So overall, we only had 2 losers from the stocks that I flagged and talked about last week, and the link to that will be in the description below. Starting with AMD, it's kind of just consolidating right at the green line. It was actually a failed green line breakout because on this day it closed below the green line, and that would be a sell signal for me if I bought it on the green line breakout. But overall, it's just kind of staying sideways, which is a positive sign, and there's not that much selling going on at this time. So I do want to see kind of it to contract a little bit more and then move up and bounce off this green line. ARVN, it was actually the biggest gainer of the week, gaining 11% from the open of the week until the close. And that's what this column is. It's the open. Actually, I'll show you guys the formula. So it's the close divided by the open minus 1 times 100, basically calculating the percent change from the open of the week until the close. So ARVN was the best performer, gaining 11.67%. And you had a bunch of possible entries here. Last Friday, there was a Bollinger Band bounce. Then it just kind of kept moving up this week. You also had the green dot potential entry here, and then kind of the IBD style entry above the previous resistance level. I would like to see more volume coming in here. So even though it was moving up well, there wasn't that much support coming in here. There isn't sign of institutions actually taking up positions. So you want to see big volume on these breakouts, and you didn't see that from ARVN. Now, ARWR was one of the losers from my watch list. I didn't really think there was going to be a great setup for the stock, but it's just one that I like to watch. But it's still below kind of this trend line here, and it's still just kind of forming lower and lower lows and doesn't really show signs of turning around. So definitely hold off on this stock. You don't want to be chasing one that's falling. That's just set up for starting at a loss. So next, you've got CDLX, which was another good winner from this week. It gained 8.46%, and it broke through the past resistance level. Again, not on above average volume, but still on decent volume. And it also had 2 straight follow-on days, which is a good sign, and then had kind of weak Friday with the overall market. But again, I would like to see on this breakout increased volume. DXM gained almost 9% throughout the week, and on this one you did have above average volume on the breakout, which is a good sign. Actually, it's the day before, but again, you had those 2 follow-on days, which is a good sign, and a weak Friday. FISV, you can see, gained only 1.69%, and it's still just kind of within this range, and actually had a pretty bad Friday. So it broke out, it gapped up, and this is really why you don't want to chase gap ups. But it opened above the line of resistance and then closed all the way down here for a loss on that day of 0.57%. So not a huge loss, but you want to be buying on breakouts when the volume is supporting it. FTNT had a nice breakout with a couple follow-on days on above average volume, and you had the green dot on the day of the breakout. So that's nice to see, but it only gained about 3.35%. IFI, which is one of the stronger breakouts of this week, you can see the volume that I like to see on breakouts. You've got 3 straight days of up days and above average volume on those days. So that's a sign of institutions taking up a position in that stock. Next, we have Paycom, which broke out and has had a nice run these past couple of weeks. But again, not too much volume coming in. PFSI still just kind of went sideways and is still below this level here that I'm watching. And Ping, which is one of the new IPOs, which is pretty promising, you can see had a breakout on this past Friday and a green dot. So this could be one to watch early into next week. It's got pretty good fundamentals, and it's forming a nice chart pattern and really tightening up on this right-hand side before finally breaking out on Friday. RNG also had a nice breakout last week. You can see the above average volume on the breakout day, and then it's increased well since then, up 7.8% last week. Shop as well had a nice breakout from the kind of cup and handle pattern, and you can see how the green dot kind of shows the change in momentum and is activated once the stock starts moving upwards. Next, we've got SPAR, which is another loser from this past week, and you can see that it's now below its 50-day and 10-day moving average. So definitely needs to turn around and keep this base and hold that base. And finally, we've got VCTR, which had a breakout and then fell right back in on this past Friday. So definitely not good things to see. Though on this past Friday, you can see it moved all the way down and then recovered almost to the open. So actually not a terrible picture from VCTR. And you had a good sign here when it broke through the Bollinger Band, it rebounded on above average volume. So actually a pretty positive picture for VCTR. I'm still in this stock. We'll see where it takes us. I really like the fundamental picture here. It's been number 4 to 5 for a bunch of weeks straight, but just has been kind of moving sideways after absorbing this big move upwards. So that is how the big growth names from my past watch list performed this past week. Make sure you guys tune in tomorrow where I'll be posting my next weekly watch list. But overall, thanks so much for watching. I hope you guys found this video useful, and make sure you hit a like down below if you did, and also subscribe if you haven't already. Thanks so much for watching, and I'll see you guys in future videos.